Welcome back. We have news coming in from the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, where 4 leaders of the People's Democratic Party who had been elected in the 2015 assembly elections that were held in the state have in fact now been asked to vacate the government accommodation that they had been staying in all this while. These leaders are Zahoor Mir, who's a former minister, Yusuf Bhatt, a former MLA from Shopian, Nizamuddin Bhatt, a former MLA and party's General Secretary, and Ejaz Mir, a DDC member and a former MLA. The administration in Jammu and Kashmir has also cancelled residential accommodations of government officials as part of the ending of the age-old practice of the Darbar move between Srinagar and Jammu and Srinagar twice a year, which has been a tradition in Jammu and Kashmir, which has been stopped this year. We're joined by Sohail for more inputs on this story. Sohail, what can you tell us about this latest decision to ask PDP MLAs to move out of their accommodations?
Well, the Jammu and Kashmir administration has started vacating, the government buildings that have been occupied by the former legislatures, and the administration has started from People's Democratic Party. 4 senior leaders of the party have been told to vacate the accommodations in Srinagar, and in fact, one of the former legislators, Ejaz Mir, has already, he has already vacated the government accommodation he was provided when he was elected as MLA. So the process has begun, and in fact rest of the legislators are yet to leave the accommodations they have been provided. But Ejaz Mir was the first. But at the same time, he has also written a letter to Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir seeking his intervention, telling him that he comes from an area which is a hotbed of militancy. So there should be an intervention, and it should be again provided the accommodation in Srinagar. And also, apart from the PDP leaders, all those officers and officials who were associated with the Darbar move process and who had taken accommodations in Srinagar, most of those people who were from Jammu region too have been told to vacate their government accommodations. So this is basically the government is actually working on a court order as well, because in 2020 the Jammu and Kashmir High Court had given directions to the administration and had sought a report as exactly how there is implementation of the protocol on ground, because there are people who doesn't need these accommodations in Srinagar.
Yeah, that's right, Sohail. In fact, Ejaz Mir has also written to the Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor seeking his intervention. But if you remember, Sohail, a few days ago, even Mehbooba Mufti said that what's happening in Jammu and Kashmir with regards to the eviction of PDP MLAs from their government accommodation actually amounts to selective targeting on the part of the centre. This is an accusation that Mehbooba Mufti had made a few days back.
Absolutely. She has also written a letter to Lieutenant Governor saying that, this is basically the PDP leaders in Kashmir Valley are being targeted. And in fact, the government has started with eviction from PDP leaders. And she has also written that, this is the time when all these leaders are facing security challenges in their respective areas. Most of the leaders come from South Kashmir, and where there's a rise in militancy. So this is basically a problem. Lieutenant Governor should come and help the PDP leaders. But then there are notices that have been already given to to these leaders of People's Democratic Party by the Estates Department. And in fact, we have spoken to many people in the government who say that this is the process. And in fact, the administration has to follow the court orders as well that were issued in 2020, in which it said that former legislators who are not in power and in fact who will have to leave the government accommodations they were provided. Not only the MLAs or former legislators, in fact, there are many officers, many bureaucrats who have retired and still are occupying the government accommodations in Srinagar as well as in Jammu.
Right, Sohail. We'll keep a watch on these developments very closely. Thanks for your inputs. We're moving on now.